Today we have multiple stories of entitled parents acting like total children. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, father is stonewalling me because, dramatic pause, I said I was going out for a walk. TLDR, if I go for a walk alone at the ripe age of 17, I apparently risk my life or something according to my father. I'm not actually sure what point he's trying to make. Update, went on the walk with my mother. We both tried explaining that it was fine. He snapped at me and told me to do what I like, but don't dare ring him up again if I get into any trouble. I wish I was joking. I, 17-year-old male, live in a slightly dodgy area in England, but it's definitely not that bad if you live there. It's only really dangerous at night, and my neighborhood is comprised entirely of pensioners. Today's a lovely sunny day and it's, at the time of writing, 8:30 a.m. Nothing like a refreshing early morning walk, so I told my father, 66, male obviously, that, Dad, I'm going for a walk. This comes after I'm bored out of my mind on Friday. It's around 5 p.m. but it's still bright outside, and I commit the grave crime of asking to go for a walk. I can hear the incredulous gasps from here. How on earth do I have the balls to ask something like that? My father asks me exactly where I'm going, so I tell him. Be careful, it's okay when you're going with friends, but alone? Alone? It scares me. It scares me. I know how bad people are. Yes, father dearest, Brenda from next door is going to chuck her walking stick at me. So as you do with dealing with very angry men, do you A, go away, you're almost an adult, what can he do? B, reassure him that you'll be fine? I mean, really? Is it reasonable to be terrified of your son going for a walk? C, don't go. I chose C. But that never stopped me from trying to go on my bloody walk. I asked again today. I'm feeling it. New government in place, weather's fabulous, I'm just in a good mood. Dad, I'm going for a walk on the local public footpath. They say, okay. Mission accomplished, right? No. He won't talk to me because how dare I, actually? How dare I be happy? Poor sod. He thinks everyone else should be miserable because he is. The man won't even look at me. I shouldn't be surprised. When I was 15, I was home around 10 minutes late after school. I was on the bus doing my maths homework. Phone's on silent. When I get home, I get a proper bollocking from him. Alright, a bit of an overreaction. Excuse me? You're going to put a tracker on me? Christ, Dad. While writing this, my mother's just tried to talk some sense into him. He replied, you don't read the news. There are bad people. She replies, look. He replies, they're getting let out of prison after assaulting kids. What? Actually ridiculous. I went into the woods once with my friend, and we met the most diabolical, immoral people to walk this earth. Dog walkers. I know. However did I survive? Anyway, I'm getting a bit tired of writing this. My mother's decided that she's going with me. Apparently it's fine as long as I'm with someone, but realistically, if I come across an axe-wielding Rishi Sunak, don't mind him, he's gone off the deep end after the election. What is my 61-year-old mother going to do? Ram into him with her mobility scooter? Good work, but probably not. Well, she's going to feed back to my father once we're back. Actually, darling, it is a safe area, except for the dog walkers. Now, listen, I understand. You're afraid. You don't want anything to happen to your kids. But you can't end up being like this guy who potentially will shape their kids into someone who doesn't want to go outside, who is discouraged from the idea of going on walks because it's not safe outside, or becoming just like them and having that fear passed on to OP and also just not doing anything in the outside world because bad people are out there. Razmataz Fine wrote, when I was a teen, I wanted to jog to help cope with my anxiety. My mother was dying, my dad was funneling his grief into alcohol, I wasn't allowed to join a gym and wasn't allowed to go out by myself even though I walked to school alone. We didn't live in a very good neighborhood, but like OP said, that was mostly at night. It was my dad who forbid me to go. There was no healthy place to exercise and decrease my anxiety, so I just started going anyway. I got a large dog as soon as I was able and I took her with me jogging. That was my compromise. I was reviled for it by my siblings and my dad was really disappointed in me, but I just did it anyway. It was an unmet need. He eventually left me alone. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy stories of crazy entitled parents, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, I told my boyfriend's parents that they were racist and got kicked out. So, to premise, I, 25 trans dude, and my boyfriend, 25 trans dude, last week were going to visit his parents out on his stepfamily's land. They're the country but not from the south type of people, and my boyfriend grew up in, as he said, the middle of nowhere. Thing is, my boyfriend is very much what I'd like to call a punk cowboy. Very anarchist, very for the people, heart of gold, just a wonderful and lovely guy. He's told me how bad his parents can be when it comes to being racially ignorant, but I'd met them before, so I figured I could handle it since they'd never really been that bad. This time was different. My boyfriend's parents came up from Florida, where they live, to visit. We decided to see them since my boyfriend's pet rat had recently passed and we wanted to bury him up where my boyfriend grew up. We were gonna camp out on his stepfamily's land before burying his rat. We didn't even make it to the tent. For some extra context on his stepdad, let's call him Bob, fake name. Bob peaked in high school and is a self-reported nice guy. He would be friends with girls to get them to date them, and when they didn't, he would verbatim go, "But I was such a nice guy." Do you see the problem here? Hi BF here. How does Bob not know? With Bob being like this, he's checked a lot of other bigotry boxes, and he loves to talk down people he sees as weaker or lesser than him. He speaks as though he's one step ahead of you, puts words in your mouth, and will constantly strawman or character assassinate just to prove a non-existent point. His ego is much larger than his actual intellect, and it shows with how he pulled me into an argument about trans people in front of his trans stepson. Now, I'm black. I'm also autistic ADHD, so I talk with my hands a lot. I gesture a ton. We'll come back to that later, it's relevant. Constantly during the conversation, he kept interrupting me, assuming what I was about to say, making assumptions about my points or intentions, and constantly tried to talk over me to the point where I got frustrated with how many negative traits he was projecting onto me. He would say things like, "Oh, so you think I'm stupid?" after I tell him the reason why I was explaining my speech patterns is because I've had people misunderstand my lack of tone for attitude. Again, autism. Like, sir, where in that sentence did I say you were stupid? The entire time when he saw that I was getting frustrated, he was smirking like he was winning some kind of game. The conversation continued and Bob finally pulled a microaggression as old as time. He got angry that I was shooting down some of his points and said I was being aggressive just because I talk with my hands. I'm not going to go over microaggression here, but if you don't know, do a quick Google search and specifically research the angry black woman trope. I clocked that and just said without a beat, "That's racist." And boy howdy did they, stepdad and mom, clutch their pearls. They immediately denied it even though they've been racist before, not in front of my face, have asked me weirdly personal questions, and after this current incident, managed to say even more racist BS. Boyfriend here again. At one point, my mom literally asked, "What is his ancestry?" They truly have been treating me like 3/5 of a person, yet they've never heard of a compromise before. His stepdad told me to get out and I took a walk. I later found out that he was talking to both of us, especially since my boyfriend had agreed with me out loud and had mentioned that he's thought that they've said and done racist things previously. It's been almost a week since then, and we decided to bury Draco, the rat, near our apartment instead. Since the blow-up, his stepdad blocked my boyfriend behind his mom's back. She didn't know at first. And when he went to talk to his mom today, his stepdad ignored the freak out of him. We just continued to laugh about this because he refuses to communicate like an adult. He plays high school girl games because he peaked in high school and has done nothing but abuse the stepchildren he can get away with abusing. And the thing he's done in the past to my boyfriend and his brother always makes me broil with anger. Currently, my boyfriend, he's healing and learning to have a bit of self-worth for himself. His parents, especially stepdad, have always been terrible, but he's finally at a place where they hold no power over him anymore, and he can set boundaries. I'm proud of him. I think it's pretty obvious there's no tiptoeing around the fact that these people are, even if they flat out deny it, pretty blatantly racist. Even if you somehow argue that they're definitely not a very accepting people, and kind of people you don't want to associate with regardless. OP being there just to help their boyfriend learn how to have self-worth for them and not get controlled or have to live under these step-parents is undoubtedly a great thing. Yokai Watch Fan 2102 wrote, "Well, OP, your boyfriend's stepdad is a racist transphobe, and his mom is equally as bad as an enabler. Time to cut contact with these people. Your boyfriend's stepdad is never going to respect you." Our next story is Entitled Parents Think Handicap Parking is for Them. This story isn't about my parents, but rather a bunch of parents. I originally posted about this in r/legal advice and got all the help I needed. I genuinely wish I knew about that advice years ago. The story: me and my wife have a handicap placard for our vehicle. My wife, bless her, has a prosthetic leg and obviously needs the accommodation of handicap parking. The other parents at the daycare didn't seem to think so. Several times a week, both handicap spots at our kids' daycare would be illegally taken. There were several excuses, of course. These ranged from, "I'm pregnant, I have 4 kids, I'll only be a minute," etc., etc. All crappy excuses. The handicap spots are clearly marked and display the $250 fine on the sign and everything. My wife also had insults and racial slurs thrown at her when she would ask people to move their vehicles. One entitled mom even slammed the door in her face when my wife tried to enter the daycare to drop off our child. We asked the daycare for help and spoke to their director. We were assured that we would be helped and spaces would be available for those who need them. When me and my wife would bring parking offenders to the staff's attention, they would mostly just shrug their shoulders. So no real help there. Fine. I tried calling the police non-emergency line, gave vehicle info, plate numbers, took pictures, under the advice of the police, etc. Still, nothing changed. One entitled mom even threw an entire 7-Eleven Slurpee on my car when I asked her to move her car, and I called the cops when she refused. Was she cited? Nope. No ticket because we're really not doing that right now because of COVID. I was flabbergasted. I had to get my car washed. This went on for years. We would tell the daycare staff, call the police because we will help you. No real help was ever given. No parking tickets written by the police despite giving them pictures like they told us to do. Nothing. A few months ago, things finally tipped over the edge. I'll admit, I lost my cool, so I'm not 100% innocent either. A vehicle was blocking the handicap parking again. I spat on the windshield in frustration. The entitled mom saw this as she walked out of the daycare and began yelling at me, shouting that she was going to slash my tires and that she had a gun on her. The police were called. The cops show up, we show them our placard, explain the situation again, and I get a $150 ticket for disorderly conduct. Okay, I can take responsibility for what I did wrong, that's fine. What about the entitled mom? No ticket at all. At this point, I am ticked. I asked the cop if he was serious. I asked what was the point of calling them for years, like the department has told us to do, if nothing ever gets done. No real answer from him. The cop replied to us that she wasn't getting cited because we were not inconvenienced. Are you serious? This is where r/legal advice comes in. A fellow user there messaged me and told me it might be a good idea to contact my city council for help. I honestly never thought of such an idea, so I gave it a shot. It was Friday on a holiday weekend, so I wasn't expecting a response until at least Monday. But they got back to me within 2 hours with actual help. I was shocked. They got me on direct contact with the police chief, who got a marked police vehicle parked at the daycare in the mornings for a week. These parents, with a very obvious cop parked by the door, still illegally parked in the handicap spots. How dumb can you get? One entitled mom even tried to get out of a ticket by rolling up her window and pretending the cop wasn't there writing a ticket. One officer was kind enough to inform me that they wrote over a dozen tickets in a week. After this, my wife told me she's been able to park at the daycare ever since it was finally properly enforced. Should it have taken this long? Oh no, it shouldn't have. I'm just glad my wife has access to the parking she needs when dropping off and picking up our child. Honestly, I don't think there's a single detail in this entire story that actually surprises me. I feel like it's pretty par for the course. I have family that have handicap placards. Whenever I'm with them and we go out somewhere, it's honestly shockingly rare how often you'll actually find a spot open. And to be fair, most people that take up those spaces, they do have a handicap placard, but there's still plenty of offenders out there. Hunting of the Wren wrote, I'm disabled from a leg injury but currently look healthy to a stranger. I need to just go get a placard, but one of the big reasons I haven't is that several years ago when I was newly injured and in casts and boots, on crutches, in a wheelchair, even with a freaking external fixator, all very visible markers of disability, I still got a ton of crap from boomers who would complain that I was too young to be disabled. I would have loved to not be severely injured in my 20s, but here we are, Jan. Our next story is, I need advice, please help if you can. Hi, I'm 20 years old, graduated high school in 2022, and right now I have a part-time job while I'm planning to go back to community college this 2024 fall semester, taking online classes after I took a gap year in 2023, because I wanted to focus on saving up money for myself, school, etc. Before my part-time job, I had a full-time job and would work 40 hours each week. I know this is just part of life and how it's never easy, but I seriously don't know what to do. I feel so lost. I'm an only child with no siblings, and I've never had a good relationship with my parents despite my efforts on putting my feelings aside and trying to see the good in them. I even gave my mom a Mother's Day card and gift thinking it'll help change things between us. It didn't, and she's still the same person as ever. Update: I officially gave up. To give some background, my mom told me yesterday that she's not going to help in any sort of way with my college because she can't afford it. I'm not really surprised because even in 2023 when I would ask for help on paying fees off, she would just tell me to use the money in my bank account. If I had the capability to do that, I wouldn't have asked her for help. So that was when I took my gap year in 2023 because I realized I needed to save up money on my own. No one will help. Yes, I applied for FAFSA back then, and I recently did again for this school year, but even then, FAFSA didn't help cover a lot or enough of the expenses for school, at least in my case. Then she told me yesterday that I'm going to need to start paying my own phone bill. The specific reason why she can't afford to help me with college? Because she has so many bills in the house. And she's too busy sending money off to the Philippines every month since my POS dad is retired and living his best life there now, and the family of my mom's brother is there, her brother, brother's wife, and their 3 kids. She's the one that sends money there and supports them, so she can't help me in any way. She can help them, but not me, her only child. Not even just a little bit for my education, since she told me my FAFSA can pay for the college tuition and all those other fees, even though I told her it won't help cover enough. I understand her situation since I know that's a lot put on her, but it just seems unfair. Next, the reason why she told me to pay for my own phone bill is because she has to pay $100 a month in total for just both of our phones together, which is too expensive for her. She told me I can afford paying my own phone bill. I start paying my own phone bill in like 2 weeks. I'm Asian, by the way, if that's important, Filipino specifically, and my parents have always been mentally and emotionally abusive with me. My dad would try to get violent with me, but hasn't successfully hit me. The root of my mental health problems has always been due to my parents. My mom has always sided with my dad over me. Growing up, my parents have always complained about how I'm so spoiled, how I'm so ungrateful because I get food, a roof over my head, clothes, etc. Even though as a parent, shouldn't that be the bare minimum for what you give towards your child? Only child, by the way? I've always felt emotionally neglected. My mom has no empathy. She makes everything about herself. Projects all her insecurities and what she's gone through in her life and by my grandma onto me, and my dad has no empathy and he's the worst dad to exist. I don't even want to go into detail, it's just too much trauma from the both of them. I wish they just got divorced. There's a reason why my dad's ex-wife divorced him. Every time I bring something up about my dad, my mom would always tell me, "You should be grateful, he's the one who brought us to America. If it weren't for your dad, you wouldn't be here. You would have been struggling in the Philippines. I should have just left you in the Philippines." To summarize, they're both narcissists. Toxic Asian parents. My mom is a Christian, by the way, and goes to church. My mom is 50 and has a 29-year age gap with my dad, by the way. I think my dad is significantly worse than my mom, but I hate them both. I tried my best, I really did. I had to get a job, own bank account, get my medical info somehow through the back of my insurance card to request a doctor's appointment, new passport application, a credit card, psychiatrist to help diagnose what I have, literally anything I can think of, all by myself at 18 or 19 years old. No guidance, no bit of assistance or help at all from my mom or dad, even when I would ask for help. My mom was the one that wouldn't even allow me to get a job before or a credit card while I was already 18. She would get incredibly mad at me, just full of rage whenever I would bring up having a job for myself, or even the thought of moving out while in college, because she said my only priority should be on school, not anything else. But how am I supposed to save up money for myself then? She won't even help me in school, so I doubt she'll help me with anything else money-wise. So I decided not to listen to her and got a full-time job in 2023. Thank God I did. Thank God I didn't freaking listen to my mom, because if I did listen, I wouldn't have the savings in my bank account today. No credit score, nothing. She hates the idea of me being independent and having things to support myself. Before anyone thinks, oh, well, I'm sure your mom cares for you if she bought you something in your room or whatever. Besides the dresser, small TV, bed, just basic furniture that my mom bought from when I was 12 to 15 years old, I purchased all the things in my bedroom on my own. I bought all the clothes in my closet, and some were hand-me-downs given to me. I bought the pairs of shoes I have organized in my room. All the things that I can enjoy for myself in my bedroom that makes my bedroom my safe space, I bought it all on my own. If you're talking about the furniture from when I was younger, then yes, I am grateful for it. Also, the food I eat in my house is basically groceries I buy for myself. I don't ask her to buy me anything food-wise, nor will she, which is fine. She's not obligated to do that, of course. I also have 2 kitties that I love so much, and I make sure to always provide them the best no matter what. So what I specifically need help on is, how do I move out while studying in college and having a job to save up money? I'm really thankful I have a roof, since I don't want to seem spoiled or ungrateful to anyone, but I want to get out of here and have my own space. I feel like I won't be able to fully grow while being stuck in this environment. It's so mentally and emotionally draining knowing that I live in a toxic place with a mom that won't help me, which I know she's not obligated to since I am 20 now, but it would have been nice to at least receive more assistance or guidance on how to go with life. My mom would always just tell me to get good grades and stay in school. That's it. But I have to pay for my college tuition all by myself with no help besides FAFSA, and I'm like 100% sure that won't help cover everything. I have to pay my own phone bill. I have to save up and get my own car in the future. Then once I do that, I have to pay my car insurance. And of course, I'm saving up money to move out and for school. If you've reached up to here, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to read my situation. I'm just a 20-year-old trying to do my best in life. I want to pursue my education, I want to be free from this toxic environment and go after my goals in life. If anyone has any genuine advice, please let me know. Or let me know if you've been in a similar situation like me and what you had to do. Thank you. Now, admittedly, I've never been in any kind of situation remotely close to what OP's gone through and is currently still going through, but I feel like there has to be some level of compromise. Obviously, you don't want to delay your college education, so if you have to go the loan route, so be it, but as far as moving out as soon as possible while maintaining a part-time job or a full-time job, and also maintaining going to college and paying for college, it might just not be currently doable, and it might be something that you have to bide your time and just try to put up with. Beyond that, I would just try to find some kind of roommate situation. But generally, I think it would be a better idea to see if you could try to save up some amount of money so that you're not kind of just winging it without really being certain about your finances. Lisa Knows Best wrote, "For your age, it seems you're doing the best you can. Keep working and keep saving. You may be able to qualify for additional scholarships from FAFSA based on your parents being immigrants. Not sure, but definitely worth looking into. Talk to a counselor at the school you plan on going to. They are there to help you and are usually very kind and helpful. Cut back on things you don't really need so you can save as much as possible. Find a room share type environment. Roommates. If you rent a room, it's much cheaper than trying to get an apartment all by yourself. Maybe look into a room and board situation where you exchange cleaning, cooking, or childcare for rent if possible. This might sound cold, but stop trying with your mother. It's clear you're not a priority to her. It hurts, but the sooner you sever that tie, the easier it'll get. You're doing great so far for your age. Don't be down on yourself. Make sure your mother has no access to anything of yours. Do that right away. Good luck." Our next story is, "My father acts like a child and refuses to respect my boundaries. My dad, male 64, and I, female 28, are currently vacationing together with a few other family members. He is undiagnosed but very likely autistic. He's never taken the parent role but rather always plays the victim. He is obsessed with the weird stuff such as car plates, flight routes, crosswords, you get it. The older I get, the more frustrated I become with him because he has such a difficult time making friends, and especially interacting with women. He has developed a hatred for females and constantly brings sly comments and remarks. It drives me nuts. He is very lonely and reliant on his mother, and it makes his hatred towards women even more contradictive. Honestly, my cup is full. Ever since I came here yesterday, he has been nagging me. He makes these sexist comments like, women should be trad wives, or women don't know how to be consistent or make decisions, etc. I told him, don't say that. You know I don't like it when you say that. This only made him continue, like he enjoyed getting a reaction from me. He struggles with separating the concept of me as his daughter and me as a woman, I believe. Later in the evening, when I was doing my workout routine, he asked me how much I weighed, insinuating that I had gained weight. I was severely triggered given that I previously struggled with an ED. I sat down and confronted him with why he was so incredibly rude to me. He said that he had felt recently that I'm pulling away, and he wanted to punish me for this by sly remarks. I told him this would only make our relationship worse, which he then started the discussion that I started to pull away first, and this was a natural reaction to that. Not really listening to what I was saying. I also pointed to the fact that he does not act like a parent at all. He never opens his home to me or makes me feel home. He said I never invite him either. I know the reality is that he wants for me to make him dinner in my home so that I can act like his caretaker and not the other way around. It's just so incredibly lazy and weird. It kind of sickens me how rude and childish he is, especially his remarks towards women is really bugging me. I really don't know how to approach it further, given that I get this reaction by confronting him. He said he wanted to hang out more, but now I don't know. I don't have much family left since I cut contact with my mother, narcissist, and so I think I've given him too much of the benefit of the doubt up until now. He simply won't respect my boundaries, and given his reaction, I don't think he will going forward either. I just feel like if I were in OP's shoes, he would be on very thin ice, and I would make it very clear to him that all of this stuff, all of this negative behavior, it's honestly one thing if he does believe it, but don't spout it around OP, don't point it towards OP, and don't drag OP down, and the more you do, the sooner OP's just going to cut them off, or at least I would in their situation. Excellent ad 1132 wrote, when he pulls his BS, tell him that due to him basically being a butt to you, you are not going to see or talk to him for another week. Then also let him know that if that doesn't teach him that every time he does it again, you are doubling the time. If he keeps it up long enough, he'll eventually be no contact with you. Without any real reason to change, he probably won't. Maybe if you hit him with no contact often enough, it will get through his thick skull. This next story is, my mom is giving me this silent treatment because I didn't take her to the hair salon. I, 37-year-old female, have a mother, 67-year-old female, who stopped driving years ago because of health issues. My mom and I go to the same hair salon because it's cheaper than other places, but the salon is a little far, 30-minute drive. Most of the time, my dad drives my mom for her appointments. For some reason, she got into the habit of asking me when I'm going to the salon because she wants to come with me to get a ride and get her hair done the same day as me. She never consulted me or asked me if it was okay for her to come with me. She just assumed that because I'm her daughter, we should go to our appointments together. Growing up, I hated going to the salon with her because she would give a lot of unsolicited advice on how to do my hair. She would even talk to the hairdresser for me when I was a grown woman and made me feel embarrassed. She doesn't do this anymore, but I feel more relaxed going by myself. Whenever she asks if I'm going to the salon, I get annoyed. Like, I feel pressured to go so she can go too. I used to like going to the salon by myself because the hairdresser takes a long time doing my hair since it's long and I don't like people waiting on me. I also see doing my hair as a way of pampering myself, so I want to feel relaxed. So I made an appointment and decided not to tell my mom. She ended up texting me the usual thing, "Are you planning on going to the hair salon?" And I told her yes, but that I was going by myself this time. I could have lied, but I don't like doing that. She seemed offended because she started giving one-word replies and now she hasn't talked to me in 2 days. Is it bad to go by myself sometimes? Is my mom acting entitled by assuming I should take her to my hair appointments? Oh, she's absolutely entitled if she's trying to demand that you take her along to your hair appointments. It might be a convenient thing, but still, if you prefer going alone, you deserve to go alone to your hair salon appointment and just enjoy it. I know some people who prefer going to see a movie at a movie theater alone. If that's what makes it a good time for you and you want to experience it that way, you're completely fair to go alone, and her trying to encroach on that is definitely entitled. Tabbycat4 wrote, "So let her be mad about it. Just live your life. You aren't responsible for taking her to the salon whenever you go. She probably wants to spend time with you and thinks this is a good way to do it, but it's clearly not. You could try to explain that it's more relaxing if you just go alone and tell her if she wants to spend time together, you and her can find something else you'd like to do together." But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.